Alaikum, Brother Richard. We are streaming live somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, but it is streaming. I can't find it, but we'll worry about that later on. Alaikum, Brother Richard. We are streaming live somewhere. So just want to thank you for joining us. Of course, people haven't seen us in a nice little minute. It is definitely good to be back on with you. You're going to have to give people a little update on what's been going on with you, but we'll just start with, of course, we know what the program is every week. Behind the final call cover story, this edition is the April 29th. It is volume number 39, number 29. Can blacks can Black lives be saved? Why this cover story and what's been going on with you?
Well, assalamu alaikum, brother. First of all, good to be back. I hope I'm coming through nice and loud. Um, Once again, brothers and sisters, brother Naba'a Muhammad, Naba'a Muhammad, formerly Richard B. Muhammad. I got my holy name in February and Savior's Day. So, a couple things. One, I'm COVID positive, I guess, is the biggest personal news. But I'm in day 10 of a 14-day quarantine. Day 5 of feeling like I'm back to normal, so I'm doing well. Um, if you go to my Facebook page, I did a video yesterday, which would have been April 20th, um, where I kind of laid out some stuff. But I'm doing well, and I don't want us to think that we have to succumb to this COVID pandemic. We do have to be careful. We do have to protect ourselves. We do have to respect our own lives and save our own lives. But I'm doing well, brothers and sisters, and so that's that. I guess in terms of the cover, can Black lives be saved? I think that is a rather constant um, theme for the Final Call newspaper. For this particular paper, we wanted to explore. There's been a lot of discussion, a lot of talk, a lot of moaning and wailing and gnashing of teeth about the disproportionate deaths of Black folk based on this coronavirus. So what we wanted to do was to talk not about the disparity that feeds the death, but we wanted to ask the question, since it is known that there is a disparity, right? The obvious question becomes, what is being done? Can anything be done to save Black lives right now? Because typically what they say is long-term disparities between Black and white in this country, poverty, poor diet, uh, multiple kinds of health issues that impact us because we have a lack of access to healthcare. So we are more likely to have high blood pressure, more likely to have diabetes. We're hit hard by heart disease. We're hit hard by obesity. And each of these diseases or conditions or chronic conditions, lung disease, these chronic conditions make us more susceptible to a negative outcome when it comes to being infected with the COVID-19 virus. So we did a story, and this is a very limited edition, because we suspended the print edition of the paper for 4 weeks. And this is a very limited edition. So let me know if you think you'd like to get, a copy of these limited editions, just to have it in your archives, just to have it for historical sake. Let me know, and maybe we'll see if we can print some and get them out to you. You'd have to pay a little more because this is a specialty printing for us, so we have to pay more to get it printed, and then we'd have to mail it to you. What you want to do, of course, this is just something special, right? You just want to have it. But what you want to do, of course, to stay abreast of news, you want to subscribe to the Final Call digital edition at finalcall.com. But we wanted to look at, Blacks in Chicago, about 70% of those dying from coronavirus. Blacks around the country, 40%, 50%, 70% of those who are dying. So we wanted to ask the question, well, now that that's known, what's being done about it? So we ran into a few things, and we're going to come back and revisit this article again, or this theme again. One of the things that people we interviewed talked about was a need for more testing, right? A need for more testing right now so that those who are affected in communities that are affected, like this community of South Shore where I live in Chicago, has had a number of deaths and a number of infections. So with the test, you can kind of see who has the coronavirus, and then you can get into how they need to be treated, right? So that's one thing that we learned. We also learned that, Black folk are pushing other people, to take action, and they're taking action themselves. So some people, for example, are raising money so that healthcare providers can see more people in our community. Some have set up food banks so that we're not food insecure and we're not malnourished during this pandemic. Because if your diet isn't good, that also kind of makes you more susceptible to the disease. If you're a smoker, you're smoking weed, you're smoking cigarettes, not a good time for that because of the way that the coronavirus, moves, it attacks the respiratory system. If you're drinking alcohol, not a good time to drink if there ever was, and definitely not a good time to overdrink. So these are things we can do to save our own lives, right? We've had people do public service announcements to try to get us to get information. People like Dougie Fresh with the nice little video, wash your hands, everybody wash your hands. Those are some of the things that are being done to help Black people now in this crisis. And then, of course, not only life, but quality of life. So there are people that are working on helping folks get their rents paid and pay their other bills. And these are some of the things that are being done. And again, in terms of quality of life, for example, in Chicago, and I'm sure in other cities, school children are able to get meals from schools every day. They can go to the local school and they can pick up meals a couple times a day. So those are some of the things. One of the things that we found out was really a lot of calls for testing. And a lot of people see that as the problem. There isn't enough testing to know really how deep the problem is. One of the other things that people feel inhibits being able to save Black lives is confusion at government levels in terms of, for example, the federal government, equipment being ordered, supplying states with equipment, information about what treatments work and what don't. All of those kinds of things are part of what we're talking about. Let me see if I can get to a couple more points here, and then we'll move on to another article. But you can get the full article at finalcall.com, which is your place for good information you can trust. So of course, Blacks have higher coronavirus death rates, 3.6 times higher than whites in Michigan, which is an incredible, outrageous statistic. Then there are others that say, we have to continue to find ways to save ourselves, that we can't depend on a government that has never served us well. So these are some of the things that are contained in the article. So go to finalcall.com, get it, read it, and let us know what you think. You can always contact us by sending your comments through finalcall.com. And if you're interested in that special printing of the paper, and if you got other stuff you want to say, drop us in the comments wherever this is streaming, whether it's the Final Call Facebook channel, Final Call YouTube channel. You can also comment at finalcall.com.
Thank you, and thank you, Brother Naba'a. And I don't think, have you been on since you've had your new name?
I have not been on since I've had my new name.
So let me introduce him for some who may not already know. This is no longer Brother Richard. Brother Richard transitioned in February and is now Brother Naba'a by Allah's permission, who he was named by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan back at our Savior's Day event in February. So we, of course, want to encourage you all to like, share, and subscribe, encourage others to join us, and get that digital edition of the Final Call newspaper. Brother Naba'a went through a few, a little bit of what was going on in the paper. I'm going to bring up the digital edition real quick so you can see how easily I can flip through, and there's the features for those who may not want to read an article. You can actually take the opportunity and you can have the articles read to you, but we'll go through that a little bit more at the end. So what article are we going to, Brother Naba'a?
Let's go to page 4.
Okay, so we are right here. This is
3.
And this is 4.
That's 3. The next one is 4.
Oops.
Chicago is 4. Yeah.
I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna bring up and log in because I do have a subscription, but I didn't have it realized that I wasn't logged in. So I'm gonna pass it on to you, and at some point I'll pop back.
So one of the stories we've been covering is the COVID virus in Chicago, which is related to Can Black Lives Be Saved? The mayor of Chicago has initiated a racial justice kind of equity task force, and part of that task force's job is to reach out to Black folks to try to save lives. So one of the things they're doing, people that were once employed to work on kind of curbing violence are now working on interacting with the community to share information about the coronavirus and about how to stay safe. They're also in some cases delivering food to people. Again, in Chicago, we talked to some people in Alderman. One of the things they felt was important was testing. The University of Chicago has a testing site in the city, and it's drive-up testing, and they've expanded their capacity. There are other places you can read about it in the article at finalcall.com where you can get COVID testing. Some you have to be symptomatic for, others you can be asymptomatic, but generally you have to get an appointment. So go to finalcall.com and read this story about Eureka Shakia Muhammad. It's a very good story. Talking about pushing for what Black communities need during this epidemic. The other thing is, it seems as though whenever the government gives, there always seems to be those who get more. And so we heard about the stimulus package. We heard about $2 trillion in funding. Well, it's looking like the bulk of that funding ended up going to people who already had money. Meanwhile, banks have been taking your little $1,200 check that the government promised you. The banks have been taking that check if you owe the banks money and if you owe a creditor. So you may end up with nothing. So you can read about that. And you can read about how big business swooped in. So of course, if that happened, very little money went to Black business. So two very important stories. Then we have on page 6, or page 5 rather, Ramadan, which starts this Thursday. What is that, April, is that the 23rd that it starts? And this is very important. This is the annual month of fasting and prayer for the Muslims. It's going to be different with the coronavirus kind of plaguing us, but very good story. Read it, or, as Brother Troy said, the Final Call Digital has a audio feature where you can actually click a button and the article will read itself. You can just listen. So if you're busy, if you don't have time, if you're visually impaired, you can use that feature in order to easily kind of navigate and hear what's going on. If you have some issue with reading and comprehension, you can use that feature and still get good information.
Or if you're lazy as well, for those who may be lazy sometimes, you know, you can have it read to you as well. And just, I don't know if you can hear this.
Islam Muhammad, staff writer.
Can you hear it reading?
Ramadan, the month of fasting for Muslims, will be drastically
different. You can pull the bottom up a little.
And social distancing. It is the 9th month on the lunar calendar, the month when the Holy Quran, the book of Islamic scripture, was revealed to Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon.
So while you're walking around the house or doing whatever else you're doing, you can actually have it read to you. So it's definitely an additional feature that allows you to gain even more benefit. I know sometimes I wouldn't necessarily make it to read the whole paper, but now, you know, that kind of definitely helps give me something that if I do get a little busy, that I still have another way to make sure that, you know, while I'm doing something else, while I'm multitasking, that I can still get it in. So we're moving, sir.
I said, yes, sir.
So we're moving in, and I had my notes and the list of what we were going to cover today.
Yeah. We can go to page 9, Africa Watch, which is some of our international kind of related news. And basically, brothers and sisters, the article talks about attacks on Africans in China in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic. Now we know that the pandemic started in China. China tamped down on it. Now there's a fear in China of foreigners bringing the virus back. Unfortunately, there have been attacks on our African brothers and sisters. Blacks being not allowed in restaurants, Blacks being pushed out of where they live, Black students being pushed out of universities, Black families being forced to flee just because of this xenophobia and racism. So this has now become something important because we know that China has been trying to partner with Africa. So it's one thing to do business with the people, but it's another thing to actually respect the people that you're dealing with. So really want to read this story and get into it. It provides some very interesting information, and it reminds us that we have to always work to be dependent, and we should be interdependent on one another as a people. Doesn't mean you can't deal with other people, but you have to try to deal with them from a position of strength as much as possible. And Africa has been in a very weakened position because of exploitation, because of the Western dominance, because of corporate greed, and corporations bribing people, and corporations actually, and even some nonprofits playing the role that government should play, undermining the development of good, stable governments in Africa. So definitely read that piece by Brother Jerron Muhammad, Africa Watch.
And of course, we're gonna be having this Thursday. You do not want to miss it. You don't want to miss this. We're gonna have people from all around the diaspora live using this platform, and where you'll be able to actually see and hear people from across the continent and really begin to discuss more in-depthly how this pandemic is impacting the continent of Africa. And of course, there have been coverage already dealing with that impact, but they really want to focus on in this episode. And of course, Brother Naba'a will be the main moderator for that, along with Brother Jerron and some others. But you're going to be able to hear people from across the world talk about what the economic ramifications of the coronavirus pandemic have been. So that is live on Thursday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you don't want to miss that either. So put it on your calendar. You can actually go right now and you'll get a notification and alarm when that program is beginning. So don't miss that. Look forward to seeing you all there in virtual space. We're going to move on to the next article, and we're going where, Brother Naba'a?
We're going to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's article, Build Your Own Society.
And I'll just flip through
Page
here.
19.
Oops.
So in the midst of what we're seeing in America and other places around the world, it becomes, I think, more and more vital for us as Black people to build our own society, to build our own community. And it doesn't mean you can't interact with others, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad writes of the time and what must be done, that we are at a particular time in history, a divine time for us that demands that we begin to build something for ourselves. So beautiful article, very insightful, taken from the monumental book, Message to the Black Man. Read it, study it. Again, drop something in the comments or shoot me an email at finalcall.com, through finalcall.com. Let us know what you think. So the final piece we'll get to for today is the article by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, which is begins on page 20. So we got great words from the minister about the great holy month of Ramadan and guidance for the Muslim world. The minister will also be, I believe on Friday, he'll be speaking on a Ramadan prayer line. So try NOI.org and other places, see if you can get more information about that. But again, talking about Ramadan, a special time of year for the Muslims, a special time of fasting and prayer. And so this year will be a little more trying because we will not be able to gather. Typically during Ramadan, we come together at the end of the day and we have a good meal together physically, and Muslims come from different places, and you know, it's a pretty big thing. We won't be able to have those public gatherings like that. But you know, read the minister's article where he talks about the history of the prophet, the importance of the prophet, the need for guidance right now, and the need for the Muslim world to receive guidance. Page 20, finalcall.com. Again, we're chock full of information this week and every week, information you can trust. So if you think you might want a special copy of this, very limited printing, let me know. And let's see, maybe we can get a reprint or get some printed for you. But again, you'll have to pay a little more for it because we have to pay more for it. And again, go to finalcall.com, subscribe, get the Final Call delivered every week straight to you, and stay informed, stay connected. Keep supporting an institution that's devoted to your well-being.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Naba'a. Of course, this has been a little shorter episode today, but we just wanted to let you know we haven't forgot about you, and we hope you missed us because we definitely have missed you. Well, hey, we got to take care of what we need to take care of. Of course, you've seen the papers continuously still come out, even though the widespread of the physical paper hasn't been present. This gives us an opportunity to move and shift and keep the news pumping out. But man, please get a subscription to the digital edition of the paper. These things are helping to support us to continue to move and do the things that we need to do. You can expect to see more content. You know, if you've been looking at our presence on social media, you probably notice an increase. So please make sure that you subscribe to the Final Call YouTube channel. Make sure that you're liking and subscribing the posts that you see on Instagram, Twitter, all of that. Keep up to date on what's going on via the Final Call newspaper, the best Black newspaper in the world. Any other comments before we move on, brother?
You know, typically we're at the foodie spot located at 7350 South Stony Island Avenue. We're not there today. I'm at home, of course, and Brother Troy is at home. But check out the foodie spot, 7350 South Stony Island Avenue, Black owned, Black operated, Black oriented, and a business that supports the Black community. So stop on by, get yourself something. You can't eat in, of course, but you can put in your order to go. And if you're not in Chicago, you can order bean pies and stuff directly from the foodie spot. The foodies spot. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on Twitter, but definitely Facebook. The foodie spot, 7350 South Stony Island Avenue in Chicago. Good food, bean pies, desserts, Muslim business. We know we need to support each other in this trying atmosphere. Excellent food, and they can ship bean pies all over the country. So I think that should be like a multi-billion-dollar business.
And the last thing I want to draw your attention to that's coming to mind is that we want to make sure that we're paying attention. And in this time period, the most valuable thing that we could have outside of bean pie, outside of the Final Call newspaper, which is connected to that, is to have divine guidance. So in this period of time of chaos, and we're wondering who we should listen to, what's going on, I mean, that we're not able to get out and kind of touch people the way that we're accustomed to, is the best thing that you can have right now is divine guidance. So we recommend and encourage you to make sure that you visit and stay in tune with what's going on at noi.org/webcast. And here on at least, you're going to have at least 3 messages that you can pick up on that are timely, dealing with what's going on at this period in time. And of course, Student Minister Ishmael has been speaking live from Mos Mariam, and you can see that at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time every Sunday live. And then you can go and check out our Wednesday meeting, which Student Minister Ishmael has been presenting different episodes of the historic lecture of divine guidance, the time and what must be done. And if you listen to it, and I've heard the lecture series more than once, but if you listen into it in this particular period in time, is very interesting. And I won't even leave it at interest, is God's divine guidance that we're on the parts that we're on at the particular times that we're on. Because you can't tell that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is not speaking right now today in 2020, even though many of these were, I believe, in 2013. So make sure you stay in tune with that. And of course, on Fridays, self-improvement is indeed the basis for community development. Student Minister Abel Muhammad has been releasing a video every week, or a message every week, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can get all of those right here at noi.org/webcast. That's all I have for you today. Until next time, Behind the Final Call cover story. Look forward to seeing you next week, Allah willing, but also look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Until next time, Behind the Final Call cover story.